to give suggestions to approach a patient with a when a parent comes with a child with that my child is not talking, even the pediatricians feels a bit worried that how to approach this case. We are in our curriculum, we are not dealing with this sort of cases. We are just going into infections and metabolic disorders and all other things. And these behavioral problems and these things are not stressed upon much. Speech refers to a verbal production of sounds that is understood by others. It is a verbal production of what you want to convey. That is, whatever sounds which come out through our mouth and sense which we make is speech. Language refers to a conceptual processing of communication, understanding the meaning of what is said and formulating a response based on grammar. That is, it is a whole gamut of communication. That is, you say or you make verbal gestures or you facial expressions, body language, all these come under language. That is, you want to say something, you want to communicate something to another person. You do it through the verbal or other voice or gestures or anything, and the other person understands. That is language. So speech is different, and speech is the verbal production of language. That is in summary. The prevalence. As per Child Psychiatry Department in SKMC, 7% of the UAE child population has learning speech and language disorders. The comparable figure from USA is about 3%. The higher figure in UAE probably is due to genetics, due to high proportion of intermarriages here, domestic helpers who don't speak the family language, the children learn 2 or 3 broken languages, constant use of electronic devices. An 18-month-old child can operate the iPad but can't say words. They miss out on social skills. But I feel this is a bit overemphasized. The DMC, domestic helpers, and the constant use of electronic, they are overstressed. The children initially they may have some delay in speaking or anything, but ultimately they develop excellent language and so speech skills. In fact, if 3 languages are spoken at home, they become adept at all 3 languages. And electronic devices, they learn how to do the electronic language, electronic device, as well as they have develop good speech and language skills also. Now I come to the process of communication. What is communication? When you hear the sounds, lot of sounds and the speech sounds. So these speech sounds and the extraneous sounds, they are all differentiated by the hearing. And that is what called listening. You selectively pick up the sounds, and those sounds are conveyed to the brain, and the brain decodes it, and it makes some sense about all those sounds, our speech sounds and the meaning, depending upon the language we know. And these decoded sounds are integrated and processed. And once you formulate a response, you hear something and you respond to that. And those decisions are encoded as electrical signals sent to the larynx and pharynx and sent for vocalization, and that comes out as speech. Now coming to the auditory pathway, once the sound waves impinge upon our ear, from the eardrums it is transmitted to the hair cells of the cornea, where it is converted into electrical impulses. These electrical impulses carried via the 8th nerve, the superior olivary complex, the lemnisci, and the inferior colliculus geniculate body into the auditory radiations. These are the auditory radiations, and from the auditory radiation into the auditory cortex. And in the cortex, these electrical signals are analyzed and made sense of. The language processing, as I said, from the auditory radiation, it comes to the primary auditory area and the secondary auditory area. And from these auditory area, it is conveyed into the posterior speech area, which is also called the vernix area. Here is the language which is analyzed. The speech sounds which are there, it is analyzed depending upon the language you know. And it is decoded and you formulate a response. Whatever you want to say, if you want to say it by speech, by talking, it is sent to those signals are sent to the Broca's anterior speech area. If you want to use only body language, it is sent to other areas. From the Broca's speech area into the primary motor area sends signals to the larynx and pharynx, and speech is produced. The pathways. In humans, the left hemisphere is responsible for the language skills in 97% of right-handed individuals. Even in the left-handed individuals, about 50% are use the left brain for the language skills. The Wernicke's area is primarily concerned with language comprehension, and Broca's area plays a primary role in speech production. A response is formulated and transferred to the anterior motor area, where a motor response is coordinated. The same what I told earlier, from the Wernicke's area, Broca's area, then to the anterior motor area, from where signals are sent to the larynx and pharynx. Now, the language and speech, it develops in a step-by-step fashion. It does not, the child does not altogether start saying something. From the time he is born, the development takes place step by step. In a 2-month-old child, and this we classify into receptive skill, expressive skill, and a gestural skill. A receptive skill is some indication that the child has heard what we said, and some indication that the child is understanding what we said. So, in a receptive and in an expressive skill is what the child says verbally, and the gestural skills is what the child indicates non-verbally, body language, facial expression, etc. At 2 months of age, if there is a sound, the child turns to sound. That indicates that the child has heard the sound and is understood the sound. And the expressive skill is only thing the 2-month-old child can do is to cry. And the child expressive skill is crying. At 4 months of age, when he hears a sound or sees a face, the child smiles. That is the receptive skill, indication that he has seen something. Expressive skill is cooing. Cooing is making vowel sounds like oo, e, like that. The e's, those vowel sounds are called cooing. This is what the child at 4-month-old does. At 6 to 8 months, the child responds to the name. If you say the child's name, the child responds by smiling or moving. And the expressive skill is that the child can add consonant to the vowel. He can say ba, ma, ba, da. And a little later, the child will join the two babbling words. It's called canonical babbling. Ba, 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 like pa, 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 ma, ma. That is the next stage. Next, at 12 months of age, he can follow a one-step command with gesture. And that is, if you show your hand and then say give, he will give whatever is there in the hand. And if you say tata, he will also say tata. But you have to show with your hand what you want to say. And he can say the first word with meaning. He looks at papa and says papa. He looks at mama and says mama. And at 18 months, he can point to body parts. That is, you ask where is your head, he'll say head here. And here, like, and he's able to say about 10 words. Actually, I think I'm going a bit late. I'll go a little faster. At 2 years, he will point to objects, and at 3 years, he'll follow a 2-step verbal command. At 4 years, he understands placement, and so on. It is just this is a sequential development of the speech and language. Some children, the development may not be in such a sequence. That I will come to that later, and that indicates that there is a problem. This is the same thing. Startles to loud noises. At 3 to 4 months, vocalizes spoken. At 7 months, turns to soft sounds out of sight. At 7 to 10 months, or at 12 months, dada, mama with meaning. And some 2 or 3 words other than dada, mama also. It's slightly different from what I've said. At 18 months, he points 2 parts of the body. Where is your nose? Where is your head? And at 12 to 24 months, he can join words and make a simple sentences. And at 3 years, he will talk constantly. Now, classification. Coming to the classification of speech and language. There are 2 things. One is delay. Speech and language, delay, and then the second is a disorder. Delay is that the child will is developing properly, but there is each milestone there is a slight delay. That could be caused because of hearing loss or an anatomical defect like cleft palate, cerebral palsy, that is motor defect, and environmental deprivation, neglect, bilingualism, and familial. It could be a normal variation, familial pattern. And the speech and language disorders, in which it is a disorder, the development has not taken place properly. It could be a receptive disorder, expressive disorder. Uh, Receptive disorder is that the child is not able to understand what is said. See, it is not just that he doesn't either understands or not understands. It's a lot of gray area. Some children may understand something which 70% understood, 50% understood, 30% understood, like that. Expressive language expression. He understands everything, but is not able to express. This is because could be a disfluency. He's not fluent, and dysarthria. The words are not pronounced correctly. Pragmatics, syntax, semantics. All this is the construction of sentences. That is how words are used in a sentence. The words may be interchanged. The words may not be grammatically put correctly. Then, lastly, which is not exactly a speech and language disorder, it is a communication disorder, social communication skills disorder. That is a behavioral problem. It is autistic spectrum disorder is a one main area which differential diagnosis and this. Now coming to speech and language delay, a little more in detail. Environmental loss, psychosocial deprivation and bilingualism, and hearing loss, conductive and sensory. Hearing loss is very, very important. Any child with speech and language disorder who comes, parent comes that he is not talking, we have to first look at the hearing. Parental concern about hearing is the best indicator the child is unable to hear well. If the parent says that the child, it appears that he is not hearing, then it has to be taken seriously. Two types of hearing loss, conductive and sensorineural. Usually conductive is mild and moderate, and it is usually due to otitis media, and it can be easily treated by tympanostomy tubes or with removal of adenoids, or ENT doctors can do that. Sensorineural hearing loss, it is usually more severe. There's a damage to the auditory nerve or insane problem in the brain itself. Here, amplification with hearing aids and cochlear implants is needed for severe hearing impairment. Assistance is required from teachers. Tests for hearing loss. Autoacoustic emission is one test. Auditory brainstem evoke potential, auditometry and timidiometry. Autoacoustic emission in which a gadget is attached to the ear and clicks are generated. These clicks are transmitted to the cochlear hair cells, and they are reflected, and again these are received by a receiver and analyzed. So it detects normal sound variation from outer hair cells of the cochlea. It is a simple, quick to perform, though it is affected by ambient noise. Disadvantage is that it misses auditory neuropathy. It doesn't test the function of the auditory nerve. High pulse rate, false positive rate. If the canal is blocked with Vernix or with the Derby, then the test may not be correct. It's not a test of hearing, but a test of cochlear function. This is more important. Auditory brainstem response, ABER. Auditory stimulus via earphones are sent into the ear, and the signal is transmitted from the cochlea and to the auditory nerves to the brain, and in the brain electrical impulses are generated, and these electrical impulses are analyzed by a computer. EEG waveforms are analyzed and interpreted. Advantage is that screening pathway from ear to brainstem is tested, low false positive rate, but it is affected by movement, so infant needs to be asleep, complex equipment is there. Electrodes need to be applied to the scalp, and children may not like it. And this is pure tone audiometry. Different frequencies are applied to each ear, and that is analyzed. But only problem is here a response from the patient is required. It is not like you can just record an electrical impulse in the brain. So you have to, when the child hears a sound of a particular loudness, you have to press a button or give some other indication. In the normal, any sound above 20 decibels, less than 20 decibels has to be heard. This is the right and left ear, the red color and blue color, and this is heard in the normal. In a bilateral conductive hearing loss, there may be because of the ear canal is blocked, some amount of hearing loss. The tones have to be applied at about 30 to 40 decibels for it to be heard. This is black one is called bone conduction, in which it is bypassing the canal and going to the auditory nerve through the bone. In sensorineural loss, which is what we are concerned here, the hearing loss is profound because the nerve itself is damaged, very high sound and high frequencies, has to be applied for the child to hear something. So this is about 90 to 100 decibels of sound has to be applied. And high frequency hearing loss is for the hearing loss in the older people. Tympanogram is a movement of the tympanum. Management of hearing loss. I'm going a bit fast because I will not be able to finish otherwise. Management of hearing. Coming to the management of hearing loss, there are two things to be done. One is I'm not going to the conductive hearing loss, it's only the sensorineural hearing loss. Hearing aid is one in which the sounds, all sounds are amplified and transmitted into the ear and the child. The only problem with this is the extraneous sounds are amplified and the child may not like it. Cochlear implant is a device in which the ear is completely bypassed and electrical signals are directly applied to the auditory nerve. Here, there's a microphone to detect the sounds, a speech processor and to convert the sound into electrical impulses, a transmitter receiver to convert the speech, which are conveyed to the auditory nerve bypassing the ear. It provides a deaf person with a representation of sounds. Now, this is what is the cochlear implant. Here, there is a transmitter. Here, there is a receiver, a microphone, which collects the sounds and it sends to the speech processor, which converts the sounds into electrical impulses, and these impulses are put into a transmitter and transmits to the implant. The implant is a receiver which sends the electrical signals via wire into the cochlear cells and into the auditory nerve. And these impulses are transmitted to the brain. Okay, that's so much about the hearing loss that I stressed because it is important. Then psychosocial deprivation. Here, speech and language, there will be a slight delay because of child. Nobody is there to talk to the child, or the child is very hungry or not nourished properly, poor. If there is an absent parent, if there is emotional stress, and in all these cases, there may be a speech delay. Abused children, they usually do not have a delay unless they are also neglected. Then, in a household where 2 or 3 languages are spoken, there is a temporary delay in speech, but ultimately they develop excellent speech. In elective mutism, the child is a shy child, does not speak because it does not want to. Comprehension and speech production are normal. It's more common in girls, they are shy, timid, and withdrawn. The basis is usually family psychopathology. So apart from all this, the child will not have social deprivation, child is not having a hearing loss, but the child still, there is a delay in speech and language. Here, this is because of the slow maturation and delay in the neural pathway development in the brain. Sequence in which the milestone develops and achieved are normal. They have normal hearing, are intelligent, good emotional relationship, and good articulation skills. Over a period of time, the pathways develop and child gets excellent speech. This is present in about 5 to 10% of preschool children, usually diagnosed in retrospect. So maturation delay, all things are normal except the child is not talking. The milestones are not achieved at the correct time. This over a period of time, child develops a normal speech and language. Now coming to the speech and language disorder. Speech disorder may be a voice disorder, articulation disorder, or a fluency disorder. In this case, the pitch is high or low, that is high frequency, which is irritating. Loudness may be too loud, too low, so communication is not effective, quality is irritating. Hyponasality as the nose is blocked. Articulation disorder is, when you say the words, there may be omission, substitution, distortion, or some extra sounds. Like, for example, for saying see, he'll say seen, he'll say see, for lip, whip, for train, crane, for those, dose, like that. And for distortion, like salt is called as talt and sleep is called sleep. Brown, around extra sounds are applied. Then fluency disorder. This is a bit more important and more common, and everyone has seen this. Stammering and cluttering. In stammering, the child repeats certain words, syllables of words when speaking, such as instead of saying apple, he says apple. And for prolonging certain sounds, like instead of saying milk, he'll say milk. This is quite distressing for the child, and people who listen also. It is the communication is not effective. Lengthy pauses between certain sounds and words that can seem through a child is struggling to say the right word, phrase, or sentence. using a lot of filler words such as this everyone uses, I'm sure. Even I am using quite a lot of and here, and I'm also struggling with some words at times. Avoiding eye contact with other people. So naturally, when we are saying something and we are not able to do it in an effective way, we try to avoid the person's face and eyes. Fluency in stammering, further we go, 1 in 12 children go through a phase of stammering. It is so common. 2 to 3 children grow out of it, but it's difficult to predict who will. 1 in 100 adults stammer, and this is difficult to treat. 3 to 4 times more common in men. This stammering occurs normally between the age of 2 and 5, and there's a rapid increase in the vocabulary of a child. This may cause stammering when rapidly producing the words. Usually lasts for 3 to 5 months and disappears. So if the stammering is continuous and lasts for more than about 6 months, then specialist therapy is required, and we have to refer the child for that. Management of stammering. So how do you interact with a child who is stammering? Avoid finishing their sentence when they are struggling to say words. Don't act as though you are superior and he is something inferior and you smile or you give a condescending look. Give them time to complete what they say. Avoid telling them to speak fast or slowly. Show an interest in what they are saying rather than how they say it. So try to just grasp what the meaning and try to ignore the way they are saying it. If there's a persistent stammer for more than 6 months, then refer to a speech and language therapist. Some therapies are there, like a direct behavioral therapy. This is called a LIDCOM program, which is there widely used in the UK and is supposed to be quite effective for stammering. Cluttering is another fluency disorder. In cluttering, the child talks very fast and the articulation is not appropriate, and so that it is difficult to understand. There are pauses as earlier, like and all that they say. Unnatural speed variation and stresses. Cluttering often has other symptoms such as language or phonological errors and attention deficits. Treat with practicing slow speech and over articulation. Deliberately saying each word. So those were about the speech disorders. Those voice, articulation and fluency disorders are speech disorders. Now coming to the language disorders. These are disorders after the auditory nerve, that is in the brain. Central auditory processing disorders. This is a problem in differentiating the speech signals from the noise and interpreting the speech signals. Second is aphasia. The child cannot understand. Child can hear, but he cannot understand what is being said. He can maybe partially understand or 70% understand. Some people just cannot understand anything. Then the next type of disorder is apraxia. He hears, understands, but cannot formulate a verbal response. That is, the signals for encoding of nerve impulses to send to the larynx is not there. He is not able to say. He can hear and understand. Probably he can indicate by fingers and body language. He can say what he wants to say, but verbally he cannot say it. Dysarthria is weakness of the muscles in the larynx and respiratory system, as a result of which the child is not able to speak correctly or effectively. So these are the 3 important language disorders: aphasia, apraxia and dysarthria. In aphasia, there is a deficit in, as I said, comprehension of spoken language. Speech is, so how do we know that? When he talks, the speech is agrammatic, disarticulated. Cause may be a stroke in the newborn and the late pregnancy. In aphasia, there is a difficulty in understanding, be it hearing or by reading. And because of the difficulty in understanding, there is a difficulty in speaking and difficulty in writing also. And this is caused by language disease, caused by brain injury. Next comes apraxia. Apraxia is also called childhood apraxia of speech. It is a condition in which the language pathways up to integration and processing of language are fine. There is a problem with encoding. Correct signals are not transmitted to the voice apparatus through larynx, though the larynx works well. Not the same as developmental delay in speech. The causes is usually unknown. It may be genetic, it may be traumatic or stroke. So in Hindi movies or in Indian movies, we see actors who are deaf and dumb, deaf deaf and dumb. They are usually not deaf, but they cannot communicate. So probably this is the speech defect, apraxia. So the child, they can understand everything. They can hear, they can understand, but they cannot talk. They do not make any meaningful sound. Apraxia diagnosis. Not all children with childhood apraxia are same. If the child is about 3 years and shows sign below, evaluation by a speech and language pathologist should be done. Does not always say the same words at the same time, every time, tends to put stress on the long syllabus, distorts or changes sounds, can say shorter words more clearly than other longer words. They may have other problems, difficulty with fine motor skills, that is writing, tying the shoelace, putting on the buttons, and they may have delayed language, problems with the reading, spelling. The difficulty in apraxia may be mild, moderate, or severe. Management is to plan the movement needed to say the sounds, make those movements right way every time. In mild cases, we can the child should practice so that he gets better at what he wants to say. Touch cues like putting the finger when you are saying some sounds. Visual cues like looking at the mirror when making the sounds so that he knows how he is making the sound, how the lips are moving and how the tongue is moving. Listening cues, that is you practice with a tape recorder. You say something in the tape recorder and listen to it and then do the corrections. In moderate cases, moderate and severe cases, you have to seek professional help, and they do it by articulation or phonological therapy, adapted cueing techniques, or facial myofunctional therapy, and so many other therapies which are difficult to pronounce also. Severe cases, an informal sign language mechanism. This is the sign language which people, especially we have seen in the news readers, they use this type of sign language. It's called Makaton, using the fingers and hands and even the facial gestures to communicate what they want to say without making any sound. A language notebook with pictures, portable computers that can write and produce speech. Dysarthria is the third type of language disorder. In dysarthria, there are many types: inability to speak loud, abnormal speech rhythm, monotonous, uneven speech volume, difficulty in moving the facial muscles. But dysarthria most commonly is seen in the cerebral palsy patient, in which the muscles are not moving, muscles are stiff and they don't move properly. For example, if the child wants to say, come here, he will say, come here. So it is, the larynx is not moving in a way that the brain wants it to move. It may be caused by a stroke or tumor, which leads to cerebral palsy and other problems. Now coming to other differential diagnosis. There are 4 other important differential diagnoses for speech and language problems. Not exactly speech and language, it's the communication disorders. This is autism, ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, cerebral palsy, learning disability. Autism is a major differential diagnosis. Abnormal perception and socialization with others. The child perceives his world in a completely different way. That is, it's not a normal perception. Limited and repetitive patterns, and he behaves in a different way. It is a spectrum of disorders of varying speeds. Not a single, autism is not a single thing. There are various spectrums. Some may be mildly autistic, some may be severely autistic. The mildest forms are called Asperger's syndromes. Some have genetic or organic basis, not due to emotional trauma or deviant parenting. Prevalence is about 3 to 6 per thousand neighbors and is more common in boys, usually presents by 2 to 4 years of age. ASD, autism, he doesn't speak or has delayed speech, fails to respond to her name. The most important is he has poor eye contact and lacks of facial expression. Second important thing is that if you ask a question, he gives an irrelevant answer. Either if you ask what is your name, he may either run away, or he may say, what is your name? I ate breakfast. Or something totally irrelevant. What is your name? My mother went to the supermarket. Something like that. Resists cuddling and holding. It's not a lovable child. Can't start a conversation. He cannot talk anything, actually, usually severe cases. Speaks with an abnormal tone, has difficulty in recognition. That is, normally when you listen to a person, you listen to his words as well as his facial expression and body language. They do not, are unable to correlate the facial expression, body language, and the speech. Then the behavior performs repetitive movements such as rocking, spinning, and flapping, develops specific routines or rituals and becomes disturbed with slightly change. That is, they may be attached, they may have specific routines, have a bath at this time, and they'll have a bath at this time, and they have to have a food at this time, and they have to have food in a particular plate, and the food has to be kept in a certain place, and if there is any disturbance from these routines, they become extremely agitated. They may want a certain object like a piece of wire, he may hold on, and if that means that is missing, he may go into a temper tantrum. Has problems with coordination, odd movement patterns, is unusually sensitive to light, and so many other behavioral problems. How do you develop? Autistic child usually do not develop normally. They do not have a smile or happy expression at 6 months. Doesn't mimic sounds of facial expression by 9 months. Doesn't babble or coo. It should have come by 4 months. It doesn't do it even at 12 months. Doesn't gesture like pointing or waving by about 9 to 10 months. It should be there. It doesn't do it even by 14 months. Cannot say single words, which should have come by about 12 months. He doesn't believe in cannot play make believe or pretend. Make believe is that all the children who have in the growing stage, they play doctor patient or police thief or papa mama, playing house. These type of plays they just cannot do it. The most important is they do not have eye contact and does not answer a direct question. These are the professional checklists. Modified checklist for autism screening test, autism diagnostic interview. These are formal tests to diagnose autism. Then treatment is extremely unsatisfactory. Applied behavioral analysis is one therapy which can be applied. Educational therapies can be done. Other therapies like speech therapy, occupational physiotherapy, psychotherapy. Medication like risperidone and aripiprazole is another. These are the two. Risperidone is commonly used. Medication. It's a lifelong problem. Usually, only about 10% of them are able to function independently as adults. Now, coming to the next, it is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. It's a persistent pattern of inattention, hyperactivity, and impulsivity. That is, the child is inattentive. He cannot concentrate on anything. And then hyperactivity, continuously moving about. He cannot sit quietly. He just moves the chair here and there, takes the pencil and put it there. Suppose he comes to our hospital or the doctor's clinic, he will move everything. He will take your mouse, he will take the keyboard, and he will open your drawers, he will take the books. So we can easily identify such a person. It is hyperactivity. Then prevalence in US, about 11% of the children increased from 9.5%. Study conducted in USA, it indicates that even in the UA, the incidence of hyperactivity and ADHD is increasing. Large number of children continue to meet diagnostic criteria through adolescence, and ADHD does not typically remit at the onset of puberty, where the symptoms may last through adulthood with significant impairment noted. Diagnosis. We diagnose by looking at the symptoms of inattention, hyperactivity, and impulsivity. Hyperactivity, as I said, impulsivity is that he just has to, when something comes into the brain, he has to do it immediately. Like if you ask a question or in a class, the teacher asks a question, he has to blurt out some answer. Or suddenly he has to, if he feels that he must touch somebody's hair, then he has to go and touch it. He cannot control that impulse. So, symptoms must start before 12 years, last for at least 6 months, and occur in at least 2 settings, home and school. Only then we can call it ADHD. If he is very hyperactive at home, but in school he is a very quiet boy, then it is not ADHD. Diagnosis is made during history observation and behavioral checklists like Vanderbilt assessment scale. Psychological testing is not required for diagnosis. Treatment of ADHD is behavioral therapy, but not alone. We may need to give some drugs because he may not sit for the behavioral therapy otherwise. Stimulant drugs like Ritalin, methylphenidate is very commonly used. Non-stimulant drugs, atomoxetine is also used. These are both quite common, and this is used in UAE also. Next problem with speech and language is cerebral palsy. In a cerebral palsy, the child is stiff. The hand and body may be stiff, and because of this defect in the motor nerve, but can be accompanied by disturbances, perception, cognition, and communication. This causes speech problems due to oromotor incoordination, dyspraxia. That is, the larynx cannot be controlled by the brain. So as a result, there is dyspraxia. There is a child talks in a very slow or labored way. So treatment of the speech disorder in CP, thorough assessment is needed. Physiotherapy and speech training to improve the feeding and speech. Alternative methods of communication using computers and special keyboards. Though the speech is very poor and labored and the child cannot move, child may be extremely intelligent. So this is the problem with the CP. The child is intelligent but is not able to perform. This is sort of child intelligence is locked inside his brain. Next comes learning disability. Earlier this used to be called mental retardation, mental handicap. In UAE they have got an excellent, beautiful name for this, people of determination. Person of determination. And in this, the focus is shifted to what the child can do rather than what the child cannot do. Its definition is that it's a cognitive ability below average and inability to adapt to the environment. His IQ is low, intelligence quotient is low, may have defective auditory or visual comprehension and also poor speech. See, cognitive ability is how you interact with your environment. Like a child with a poor cognitive ability or learning disability, he cannot take the lift, put the numbers in the lift and go down to the supermarket or buy a thing. Suppose he goes and tries to buy a thing. If you give him 10 dirhams, he doesn't know if the cost is about 5 dirhams. He doesn't know that the shopkeeper has to return 5 dirhams. That mental interaction or the intelligence to calculate is not there. So that is learning disability. Accounts for 50% of the speech delay. Mild LD, mild learning disability is usually apparent in school. Moderate disability is apparent when speech and language emerges, and severe profound learning disability apparent in infancy. Those with mild disability can be put in mainstream schools. With severe learning disability needs to be trained to acquire minimum self-care and speech and language. Profound learning disability will have no intelligent speech or language, and they need to be total care and support throughout life. Other problems affecting speech. Tongue tie, cleft palate, malocclusion. Tongue tie is rather overemphasized. Tongue tie, even if it is quite severe, it does not usually affect the speech and language. But many parents are very much concerned and they usually go and do a tongue tie release. And it's a very simple operation. But though simple, it can have complications. Second thing is cleft palate and cleft lip. This can be repaired quite easily and proper speech can be attained. Malocclusion. This also is dental treatment has to be done. And speech and language can be normal. Macroglossia, difficulty in speaking because these are all related to other syndromes. So they may, apart from the big tongue, they may be having other problems which causes the speech and language delay. High arched palate. The palate is also very deep and this may cause problems in speech. Now coming to my last part of the speech, general assessment of the speech and language. You have to take a good history and do a good examination. You have to, for decreased environment, whether the environment and the family history is okay, parental, whether there is any hearing loss, whether the behavior at home and school is okay, developmental history, birth history to rule out hypoxia, stroke and all that. And you examine the child, rule out dysmorphic features, whether the nose, ears and mouth, head all are normal in size, shape and position. The head is, whether the head is big or small, all those things, and whether the child is having any stiffness in the muscles and deficient hyperactivity, all those things have to be observed for. Examine for tongue tie, cleft palate, last tongue. Observe for eye contact and behavioral abnormalities, talking with the children to assess speech disorders. Observe the child for eye contact. Whether the child is looking at you, ask the name and see the response. Ask the child to count, whether able to count, about if a child is about 3 to 4 years. Ask him to repeat words. With all this, we can have a general assessment or an idea about what the child, whether the child is having a defect. Then diagnostic evaluation. We have to give, when the parent comes to us, we have to advise some tests. So these are few of the tests which we can ask them. That is auditory brainstem evoked response, autoacoustic emission, pure tone audiometry, all these tests which I have just elaborated in my previous slides. Blood tests which we need, which rarely these are some conditions, metabolic conditions which may cause speech and language problem. Just check for the urea, ammonia, copper, lead, blood gas, and sodium, potassium. EEG if there is a suggestion of speeches. Functional MRI to study brain lung activity. That is activity of the brain depending upon the blood flow. That is functional MRI. Management. Direct therapy provided by the child or clinician or teacher may include family and peers. Therapies include naming objects, modeling, prompting, group play, discrimination tasks. Management further continues. Psychotherapy is given for elective mutism. Behavioral therapy and with operant conditioning for autistic children. Environmental modification, speech modeling, hearing aids, auditory training. Sign language. If the child cannot speak anything or no sounds are made, no sensible sounds are made, Makaton, the sign language. And computer training for apraxia. Primary goal of language remediation is to teach the child strategies for comprehending of spoken language and producing appropriate linguistic sounds or communicating behavior. Management should be individualized. Team includes speech and language pathologist, audiologist, psychologist, occupational therapist, social worker. Conclusions and take-home messages. That comes to the end. Speech and language are distinct entities and very common problem. Speech, simple minor problems are very common and can be easily tackled. Diagnosis and management of each child has to be individualized. There is a lot of overlap with other psychological and organic conditions which have to be ruled out by clinical examination and tests. With patience and care, a speech and language deficit child can be made to reach his full potential and lead a meaningful life. Some tips. Talk to the child from birth. Respond to the child cooing and babbling. Play simple games like peekaboo and pat a cake with him. Listen to the child, listen and look at the child when he talks. Give the child ample time to respond. It may seem like eternity. Encourage storytelling and information gathering. Never force a child to speak. In general, a child who doesn't speak does so very well over a period of time. These are my references. And thank you.
Thank you, Krishna Kumar sir, for the wonderful presentation on speech and language disorders. And thank you very much for selecting a very good topic, which is very less discussed, but many people have encountered even in their own lives. Many of us actually, especially for our kids. So the topic is now open for discussion. We have our pediatricians and our speech therapist, Ms. Alicia Appos, speech and language therapist, who can add few points to the discussion. Thank you. And any questions from the audience, always welcome.
Sir, this is Dr. Sudhir.
Yes,
from
Doctor.
Ahilya
Good morning.
Mustafa.
Yeah.
Morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning.
Sir, wonderful presentation. I don't have any questions, but you have made this, rather difficult topic for pediatrician a very simple one, and we went through most of these conditions in a, a very efficient way. Congratulations, sir. Well done. Thank you very much. It was I really enjoyed your talk.
Thank you. Actually, I chose this topic mainly to learn everything myself, because when a parent comes with it's quite common that the parent comes to the pediatrician and says, my child is not talking, my BP goes up. So we don't know what to do. So
yeah, it's a very common problem, sir. Yeah, very common.
We immediately try to look for a speech therapist or someone, and it is not easy to get a speech therapist. Of course, now we have one in Musafa.
Yeah, we used to struggle initially, and now, when these speech issues are told by parents, then we can easily refer to speech therapist who is based here actually.
Okay.
So it's easier for us now.
Thank you, Dr. Sudhir. We have our speech therapist in attending the CME. Madam, can you add few points to the discussion?
Hello everyone, this is Alicia, speech therapist from Ahalya Hospital, Musafa. Sir,
welcome
good
you.
morning, sir. Good morning. So it was a wonderful talk, sir. Even for a speech therapist, it was informative, and it was more simpler for everyone to understand what is speech, what is language, or in a very simple sentences. So it is, yeah. Whatever you said was absolutely informative, and it was a good talk. So I just want to add on that, when a child comes with speech and language problems, the child might, you spoke about the gadgets, doctor. So in gadgets, what happens is there's no one-to-one communication happening. They will just observe the gadgets, maybe any, cartoons or something. There's no communication happening. That's why the child will be having a speech and language delay. They don't know how to respond or how to ask for things. So that's when the speech and language delay happens. I have a patients who were speaking normally, and once they were exposed to the gadgets due to Corona period, they have a regression in speech. So speech and language problems can happen due to the gadget exposure as well. Depends on the amount of communication environment and the quality of speech which is fed to the child. And that's.
Yeah, that is gadgets are a big problem actually. Even the teenagers are continuously using gadgets, and because of that, they are not willing to talk. So they can talk, but they are not willing. They don't want to communicate.
They don't know how to formulate the sentences because they are not, they are just continuously watching the gadgets, and even they will be developing eye contact problem also, because every time watching the gadgets, even the parents are calling, they'll not look at the parents and talk. So even they will be having linguistic skill deficits as well.
Yeah, that's very true. Especially when the child comes to our OPD, he will be with a he will be with either with an iPad or a phone. The child will be looking into this, and parent will be telling. The child will be sitting on the chair looking into this thing. Even in our IOPD also, we have the similar finding, and he doesn't answer also. For every question we are asking, it is the mother or the father who is answering the question. The child will be on this looking into the gadget.
Yes.
Sometimes
now it's been easy.
Sometimes even the father will be looking into the mobile.
That is also true.
Yes.
Very true.
Even if the child cries or does something, they'll just give the gadgets and click. That is the main problem.
And they will tell they are working parents, so they cannot do anything. So even in my OPD also, the first thing I tell is not to reduce the use, to stop the use of the mobile. Reduce means they will have still the use. So even I have not only the language problem, even eye problems also. So many eye issues we are encountering in our OPD. So I always used to tell them to stop the mobile, and it is better to tell the child rather than the parent.
Now the problem is that without a mobile we cannot survive. Everything is there in the mobile.
No, not for us, for the kids.
Even for the kids, I think the WhatsApp groups or even the teaching is
not for us, for the kids actually.
Now the classes are also through online sessions and mobile, so it is a mandatory thing for the children as well.
Yeah, so it is very difficult also.
So thank you. So if any more questions from the audience? Thank you, Alicia, for the participating in our discussion. And any more questions from the audience? If no more questions, we can conclude the session. And thank you once again, Krishna Kumar sir, for the wonderful
1 minute.
presentation.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Sorry. I would just like to say that if any of the pediatrician watching this session have encountered the child with any speech and language problems, fluency disorders, articulation, please refer them to Ahalya Hospital, Mustafa. We can evaluate the child, in detail regarding speech and language issues, and we can provide the management as soon as possible.
Yeah, sure, madam. Sure, actually not everyone, because it is good that it was a nice intro, and we see also so many kids in our OPD, so we will definitely refer you to the Ahalya Hospital.
Thank you so
Mustafa.
much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, if no more questions, we can conclude our session. The post-test as well as evaluation are in the chat box as well as in AHH WhatsApp group. Please fill up the forms before concluding the session. And see you all for the next Sunday CME. Thank you.
Right. Thank you.